among the Montana projects, you said you'd help secure federal funding, a new ice rink in Bozeman, fix up Cobb Field in Billings. Then there's the federal share of firefighting costs to save the homes of people who choose to live next to the national forests. What is your obligation as a U.S. Senator to be a caretaker of the budget for the entire country and just say no, even though it may be unpopular with voters back home?
Well, that's a very good question. Let's start with Yellowstone County, what I'm very proud of. Airport. Renovation of the airport, new towers, FAA, new facilities, modernization, new traffic pattern up there, although they haven't got it built yet, but they got $8 million laying around somewhere to do it. You come on down here and you take a look at MSUB and the School of Technology and the work that we've done here to change how we educate folks that don't want to go to a 4-year curriculum. On down to a medical corridor that is the state-of-the-art between Seattle and Minneapolis for people here in Billings, Montana, and this area. Go on down to Cobb Field, but there's a little unknown thing down there that helps the people that have mental problems, and it's called the Hub. They have nowhere to go in the daytime. We funded that because it touches people.
When you take a look at the budget, it's about priorities, and right now they're not prioritizing very well. Back in Washington, D.C., our kids wouldn't have a $30,000 debt along with everybody that's sitting in here and everybody up on stage. We need to prioritize our spending based around infrastructure that works for economic development. Water, sewer, irrigation. We need to have dollars for research. And quite frankly, we've got all those entities in the state that need infrastructure updating. And also we have the facilities for our university system, including this one right here, that can take care of some of those research dollars. The bottom line is if we're going to have economic growth, you've got to have a federal government that facilitates economic growth. And it needs to be prioritized. And I don't think there's a lot of prioritization that's going on in Washington, D.C. right now, because we're not keeping up with surrounding states in water projects, water infrastructure projects, or a lot of the granting projects that go towards research.
We've just moved Montana State University into the top 10 of research and development. We redid EBSCOR so smaller college universities could get R&D funds. We got the Dry Prairie Rural Water Project going. Central Montana, we got the water project going. Things that wouldn't have been done unless you have seniority and the effectiveness and the experience to get it done. I will tell you, you don't get it done from the junior side of when you go there. I learned that pretty rapid. So we're starting. And we're going to complete the St. Mary's project. And John Tester is exactly almost right. Infrastructure, not only in water, communications, and transportation. We have revolutionized communications in this state, where right here you're standing pretty close to one of the most aggressive telemedicine projects there is in the Mountain West.
Now a question,
and I build it.
Now a question from Jim Gransberry for Senator Tester.
President Bush has spoken many times of the need for Americans to make sacrifices for the war against terrorism and the war in Iraq. The only Americans sacrificing for these wars now are our military forces and their families. For average Americans, the war affects them only marginally, if at all. Is it not time to ask the American people to make a sacrifice, such as paying for the war now rather than borrowing the money from the Chinese and sending the bills to the grandkids? Might we need to reinstitute the draft?
I'll tell you that I think that it goes back to, first of all, I want to say one thing about the previous question, Senator Burns, and I pointed out this to you before, but it really isn't your money. It's the taxpayer dollars you're spending, and that's important. What's going on right now is we're barring our kids and taking away opportunity in the process. It's like me buying a new pickup and saying, all right, my grandson's going to pay for it when he gets born. Truth is that there has to be prioritization, and we can't keep running the presses back like we are. And And in that prioritization, I will tell you that my prioritization goes for the young and the old first, and fund those projects. And at some point in time, we're going to have to make the difficult decisions to balance this budget, just like we do in the state legislature, just like we do at our homes, just like we do at our farms and ranches, small businesses and working families. But right now, the folks back in Washington, D.C., Senator Burns included, can't balance a budget. We need somebody that can.
The way you take care of the national debt is you grow the economy and control spending. We know right now the revenues coming into the federal treasury is higher than was forecast. We're getting there on a balanced budget. He balanced the state budget because it's the law. I would support such a law in the federal government also. I would support that. I supported the balanced budget amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. But you grow the economy, and it's growing. We've grown an economy in the last 2 or 3 years that's been almost unbelievable. And right now, we're the leader of the world as far as economic strength is concerned. He didn't have to deal with Katrina or 9/11 or the war on terror. We had to, and the American people says we need help, and we responded.
Well, folks in Katrina would probably argue that with you right now. But the economy is growing currently at double digits, and we're still increasing the national debt. How fast does it have to grow, Senator Burns? A pay-as-you-go proposal was put forth. You voted against it. So I don't see how you can get by this balanced budget stuff. Spending caps come along. You vote to increase the spending caps every time, except on election years. The fact of the matter is Senator Burns has never been able to balance his checkbook in private life, and he's not been able to do it in public life. And it's time to send somebody back there that has been able to balance their checkbook in private life. If my family would have spent money, and I would have spent money like they do in Washington, D.C., I'd have lost our farm in the 30s. My grandparents would have, my parents would have lost it in the 60s, and we wouldn't be there for 28 years. You need somebody who can balance the budget, and we've also done it at the state level. You're right, the people who drafted the Constitution were visionaries, and I thank them for it, and we do it on a 2-year basis.
Now time for Senator Tester. Do you have a question for Senator Burns?
I do.